And Dick is going to be sharing with us some of his knowledge, information, feelings about health and fitness, especially as we age. So let's invite Dick to the podium.
Wow, thanks, Sharon. I'm not sure I can live up to all of that hype, but here I am. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak today. Just let me get my presentation up here and share this one. You see it? Yep. So now I just need to make sure that it comes up here. Oh. So again, thank you for inviting me to speak today. I hope you will be able to take something away from what I talk about, meaningful away from what I talk about. And you will notice multiple topics underneath the heading there of how to live a healthy and active life. And as we age, that's an important part of this. And it's not a simple process. We all know that. I mean, we've all been faced with hardships in life, both health and from a physical health standpoint and mental health standpoint. So I like to explain the analogy here of broken window syndrome. So you go into a neighborhood and there's a house and it has a broken window. That invites people to come in and vandalize. And as soon as one window's broken, another window's broken. And down the street, there's another window broken. And all of a sudden the neighborhood goes to pot. It's the same with there. When you look at nutrition, exercise, mental health, and all of it's connected. So you can't just fix one thing. If I talked about how to age and only talked about nutrition, it doesn't go anywhere. You have to look after the whole house. Very important. And I want to propose a theory that's making the rounds right now, that aging is a mistake. Aging is a mistake. Think about that. And it's not so hard to prove, by the way. At the end of the session, I'm going to give you some books as reference. And in there is proof that aging is a mistake. Think about that. And we see others age, and we do the same thing. We see others age and die, and we do the same thing. And that's the antithesis of why aging is a mistake. We look at somebody else who's old and dying, we figure that's the way it's got to be. Maybe not. So, I think it's embodied by a gentleman who's an actor. His name is Clint Eastwood. And he has a saying. He's 93 years old. And his saying is, don't let the old man in. And that is very true. Don't let the old man in. The connection between mind and body is great. You are what you think. You also are what you ate. You're not what you are what you eat. You are what you ate. And the thing is, you also, what you think about, you end up with. And I'm going to give you some resources about that too, as it pertains to cancer and a few other diseases. As we get older, we either reset to a new normal or we don't recover at all. And when we're young, there's no problem. Aaron's age or Teo's age, it's easy. I mean, I used to go out all night, eat all the wrong stuff, drink all the wrong things, and still get up in the morning, go to work, and be productive. Can't do that as you age. It takes longer to recover. And it also, you have to pay attention to that house concept where you're looking after everything. And we also build a history, memory history, that is not a friend. Because when you focus on your memories that are bad memories, they affect your health. So we're going to talk a little bit about that too. And I invite you as we go through this to ask questions. If you have a question or you don't think what I'm saying is right, challenge me.
I figure on your age, but just tell me how old you are.
I was born July 31st, 1945. So on July 31st, I will be 45. No. And I was a preemie. I was born 2 months early. And my mother told me that I didn't make a sound for the first 2 months, but I haven't shut up since. And she said that with a kind voice, so it wasn't so bad. I worked on a market garden farm until I was 17 years old. And I figure that was one of the reasons that I have stayed healthy most of my life, because we ate meat as a condiment back then. We had an uncle who had a pig farm, and he dropped meat off once in a while, but 90% of the time we ate what was in the field. And at that time, there was no fertilizer, well, except horse manure from Silverwood's dairy, and no chemicals on the farm as well. So it was basically an organic farm without being organic, without trying to be organic. So I think it was a good background for my health. Shell Oil, I was a lab technician, Dow Chemical, an instrument mechanic, and I was on my own business for 35 years, and I retired at 55. And I worked and traveled all over the world the last 5 years in Southeast Asia, and I do have ADHD. I can't sit still. I have to be doing something. I have to be active. If I'm not active, I get in trouble. At least that's what my wife tells me. And I went back to school after I retired, and as Sharon already pointed out, those are some of the things that I come up with only because I couldn't sit still. Maria asked me about bicycle maintenance, and I did take a course at Conestoga College on how to repair a bicycle, including wheel building. So I do a lot of cycling, but I learned very quickly I was relying on a 16-year-old boy working at the bicycle shop to fix my bike, and in the middle of the night when I'm riding it, if it breaks down, I was blaming a 16-year-old boy. That's a good life lesson too, right? You can't count on everybody else to make it right for you. So I took the course, being able to fix my bike, and I think that's what Maria wants to do too, not rely on somebody else to be having her do it. So those other things up there, and I think one of the other things that I do that I take joy in, the Chi running and Chi walking, I don't keep up my certification anymore, but I think somebody's asked me to go over that. Brenda did, and I think Beth, you've taken one of my courses, yeah. So, and I get joy out of that, and I get joy out of teaching people to do different things different ways. And just to prove that I'm not talking through my hat, that's my nutritional consultant certificate. And again, I don't keep up the, what do they call, CECs to keep it going, because it just costs too much money. And I was really disappointed after I took a nutrition course, because all anybody wants to hear about is weight loss. And it is so boring, it isn't funny. Two things that I tell people about nutrition is most people don't know what they eat, or they only eat 3 or 4 foods and they eat it all the time. And that is not good, because you eat the same thing all the time. It's like doing the same thing and expecting different results. So your body, you have a microbiome in your body, and when you eat the same thing all the time, one thing the body is very good at and that's adapting. So it adapts to those 4 foods. It adapts to what you do. And very, very quickly, so you lift weights a little bit, and so you lift a 10-pound weight, 3 days. Your body's adapted to that. It doesn't care anymore. It's not doing you any good. And so if you always walk the same distance or do the same thing, your body adapts almost immediately. So, and all those diets that you see there, I've tried them all. That's one of the things I do. Does everybody know what SAD is? Standard American diet, right? Fast food. All the other things that come with it, that's what it's called. And SNG, no sugar, no grains, right? No sugar, no grains. And know something. Grains, processed grains, and today's modern bread all have sugar in it. And don't think because you're eating brown bread, you're eating healthy. Brown bread has more sugar in it than white bread. Go figure. Now, a lot of people say simple carbs, for example, they're sugar. It's a scourge, no doubt. Some people think potatoes and rice and all of that is carbs, and they are, and they're pretty well simple carbs. Little known facts is potatoes, if you let them cool, and you let rice cool, white rice cool, they become resistant starches, and that's good for your body. So if you eat them cold, that's why in Japan they eat sushi, and the rice is cold. That rice is good for you. It doesn't spike your insulin, whereas sugar does. Let's see what happens here. Of course not. It's okay. I can do it. Problem foods. There's some food that you shouldn't eat. Anybody ever heard of nightshades? Yes, nightshades. Tomatoes, potatoes, peppers, aubergine. If somebody come to me with pain, the first thing I would do is take them off nightshades. And by the way, tobacco is a nightshade. There's a chemical in tobacco that's in those other foods that if you're bothered by it. And what I tell people to do, number one, is write down what you eat for 2 weeks. Know how limited your diet is. How many in here eat fermented foods? Yes, good. That's a. Pardon me?
Is that beer? Wine?
Beer is fermented. You're absolutely right. I'm not sure that's as good as sauerkraut or kimchi, but it does fit into fermented, and wine is too. I'm not going to give you what to eat. This is a very, very important fact. So those problem foods, clean eating. What's clean eating? Clean eating is whole food. Whole food. A good example of that is a Mediterranean diet, right? You're eating whole foods. And I'm going to talk about this a little more, but I used to teach how to read food labels. Well, if a food has a food label on it, maybe you shouldn't be eating it, right? It has a food label on it, maybe you shouldn't be. I used to say, if it has more than 5 ingredients, don't eat it. And then I went to 3, and now I say, if it has a food label on it, maybe you should not be eating it. You should be passing that by for whole food. Shop on the outside of the grocery store. And Don's not going to like what I'm going to say next, but one of the things that you should take out is soda. No soda whatsoever, diet or otherwise. I mean, if you like the taste or you like the bubbly effect, you can drink, what do you call the soda? Oh, you can drink kombucha, yes, that's a good way to go. It's fermented. Or, your daughter has a store where you can get the kombucha, so I would suggest that you maybe make a switch. Anybody here drink soda all the time? Really keep track of your food. That's number one. Make it more diversified. Eat fermented foods. Allow yourself to experiment a little bit. And if you have a problem with bloating or anything else, go back and do an elimination diet. Allow yourself to introduce foods one thing at a time So you know what bothers you, so you know what you can eliminate to make yourself feel better. And a lot of people go through life blind. They sit down every morning and they have a bowl of sugar, and then they wonder why they drag themselves half the day. Instead of try something different, try it different. And the other thing I've got, and let's talk about vegetarianism or vegan. I was vegetarian for 10 years. 10 years, the first 10 years that I was running from 60 to 70. But I found that, and perhaps it's me, because anybody in this room who's vegetarian will tell me that you can get enough protein from a vegetarian diet or a vegan diet, but I guess I wasn't smart enough to figure that out, how to do it. So I reverted to being a carnivore, and I eat meat now because as you age, you need more protein. Any doctor will tell you that now. And doctors aren't known for their nutrition expertise, but most doctors will tell you as you age, once you get over 55, going on to 60, you need to eat more protein. So the old thing about 20, 20, 40 or whatever it is. Try to eliminate simple carbs and eat more protein as we age. Being a vegan, everybody knows what that is. There anybody vegan in the room? No animal content at all. You don't even eat honey because honey comes from a bee, and a bee is an animal. So think about that. I know a couple of vegans, and they look like that. There's nothing to them. And it's a choice. Everybody has, life's full of choices. We all know that, right? So if you do different things, you get different results. So like I said, I've tried all of those, low carb, high fat, no sugar. And by the way, no sugar, no grains is what I would suggest you do. If you want to lose weight, going on a low carb diet is the way to do it. But vegetables are complex carbs. You can eat as many vegetables. When I advise somebody, I advise them, go low carb if you want to lose weight, but that doesn't take vegetables out of the equation. You have to eat vegetables. Those are complex carbs. And a lot of people, from a protein standpoint, well, it's only meat. You can get protein from beans and everything else. Bob and Mark, right, were just telling me about doing a smoothie every morning. And I usually say, don't drink your calories. However, Bob explained what was in the smoothie, and not so bad, nuts, seeds, and everything else to go with it, right, Bob? It's important. You can't just drink, like some people will drink protein. My son yesterday was at the doctor, and he's gonna be 60 in August, so he was told to eat more protein. And he says, Dad, he told me to get protein powder. I said, nah, I don't think so. Better you get it from natural sources. So eat the food, get the protein from natural sources, and yes, you need more protein. Any questions? You okay so far? Yes, Don.
So give me an example of animal protein that you would eat.
All kinds of steak, pork.
So you're talking red meat?
Yeah, and okay, I will explain that even more later, but let me address it now. So too much red meat is not good. You should still limit the amount of meat that you eat. Red meat, chicken, pork, all of that can be filtered in to make sure that you get enough protein. Red meat, and the other thing you should think about is if you can, eat organic. Like you don't want pesticides, you don't want a whole bunch, and you don't want any kind of hormones or anything that animals have been fed. So try to eat as organic as you can. If you can't afford it, that's okay. Eat as good as you can. That's a difficult question or road to go down. So,
Can I ask you a question?
yeah, sure.
What about protein mix powder? Is that a good protein?
I'm not saying it's bad protein, but you can get protein other ways. I mean, if you're putting it in your smoothie in the morning, okay. So I eat something called or take something called AG1, which is athletic greens, and athletic greens are formulated in California friend of mine said that since he's been taking it for a year, he didn't have any colds or anything. I said, okay, I'll try it. It's expensive. It's expensive as I'll get out. I think I pay $210 for a 2-month supply. So it's about $100 a month. But I decided to try it. And I tried it, and I felt good about it, right? So that's a big thing too. Your perception of when you eat something, how you feel is another good thing about it. And I haven't had a cold since I've done it. Not having 7 COVID shots helped, but I'm not sure. But the point is that there are products out there, and if you're making your own, you know what you're putting in it. So not so bad. You can use some of that protein. Make sure it's high quality protein, because there's a lot of protein powders out there that aren't good.
Stuff we use is called diesel. You heard that?
No.
Maybe not.
It's a whey protein?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whey protein.
The main reason we put it in is it's a vanilla flavor. It just makes it drink like pleasant to drink.
Right. Yes, Chuck?
A cottage neighbor used to be big on beef hull, and I remember back in the 80s, the multivitamins were a big thing. Do you think that that's overrated?
We're gonna talk about that next, Chuck. Thanks for taking me to that section. Next thing is supplements. So when I took the course back in 2010 and subsequent nutrition courses, that was the biggest thing. Take supplements for everything. Supplements don't work in isolation. You need the food, you need the complex with it to do yourself any good. And the biggest thing that we should be taking here in Canada is vitamin D3. I take mega doses. I take 20,000 IUs a day. If you take that kind of dosage, you need to take it with vitamin K with it, because it won't absorb in your body. It'll take the calcium in your blood up. So you need to have vitamin D3 with K if you're going to absorb it properly. I take, like I said, 20,000 IUs a day, and I think that attributes to my good health as well. Omega-3, maybe. Depends how much fish you eat. It depends how much other thing. So half decent omega-3 is not a bad idea either. And the AG1 I just said, and because I run, because I bike, I also have muscle cramps. So and I looked at the AG1 I was taking. One of the things it's not sufficient in is magnesium. So I take a magnesium blend on its own. Those are the supplements that I would suggest.
Excuse me. Do you know a food source of magnesium that's good? Like food?
Well, there's a lot of different foods with magnesium. You just depends what you eat. Have a look at it and see. I'm not, and by the way, like I said, I have a lot of muscle cramps, so obviously I don't know the right foods to eat with that. Now,
You mentioned omega-3. Is that krill oil?
krill is omega-3, yes. That's probably the best, is krill oil.
Yeah, margarine intake 2 a day.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a thing at the bottom there called intermittent fasting. I don't know if you know about intermittent fasting, but the way we used to eat in history was that food wasn't as available as the 25 shells at Sobeys. You had to go out and catch the food. So they would eat one day and maybe not for another 3 or 4. You know what circadian rhythm is? So our biological clocks inside are all based on circadian rhythm. I was in a study at the University of California with a gentleman, professor named Sachin Panda, Dr. Sachin Panda, and I took pictures of my food and sent it to him for 6 months, and he determined when I should be eating and whatnot. And I follow a doctor in Toronto called Dr. Jason Fung for intermittent fasting. So if you haven't done it before, it's to split up your day to give your body time to rest from digesting. So you eat in a 8 or a 6 hour window. A lot of people take that to the extreme and take it to 1 meal a day. which they eat later on in the day, but you get up in the morning, you let your body digest, and I actually feel better when I do it. Sunday mornings, I usually go for breakfast with my buddies and at 8 o'clock and eat before I come here. Today, I decided not to because I was giving this talk, and I walked here through Starbucks. I had some green tea, which is sitting there, but that's all I've had so far. I'm not hungry, and I feel better. My body isn't working doing other things. I ate at 4 o'clock yesterday. Unfortunately, it was a full rack of ribs at Rib Fest, but that's okay. So I've lost the time to digest. But intermittent fasting is a thing that is worth looking into. Anybody do it? Aaron, you do. Excellent, excellent. So exercise, leave diet alone. Anybody, any more questions about nutrition? And I'm not telling you what to eat, but I'm going to give you some resources at the end of it that you might rely on, okay? I've run 35 plus marathons. Is that healthy? Absolutely not. But I wanted to do it. I've cycled 200 to 1200K rides, and at the end of a 1200, I've fallen asleep at 839 kilometers into a 1200K ride. At 35 kilometers an hour, went into the ditch, broke 5 ribs, 1 foot, both hands, and got back on the bike and finished a 1200K bike ride. So is that healthy? Absolutely not. So, but what is healthy is moving daily. It doesn't matter what you do. Sitting is the new smoking, no longer than 30 minutes. I have an alarm in my office. Every 30 minutes it goes off. I get up, I walk around. I walk up the stairs, I make sure everybody's upstairs okay. Next time I'll walk downstairs, make sure everybody's okay. I get my steps and flights of stairs in this building every day. 10,000 plus steps and 15 flights of stairs. Walking is as good as running, but you have to walk with a purpose. I don't know if you know this or not, but how you assess as you get older how mobile you are is there's a walking test for older people, how fast you can walk. So you can look into that and decide, am I up to standards or am I not? So you need to walk as a exercise, but you have to walk with a purpose. Walk to go somewhere. Walk to be at a certain speed. It has to be with a purpose. Sauntering along, as you see at the bottom there, that's part of recovery, but it's not the end all to be all. And I know I'm over time, so I'm gonna try to speed this up a bit. Cycling is good. Strength training, proven. 90-year-olds in nursing homes were not ambulatory. They worked out with soup cans for 2 weeks, and they were ambulatory, getting in and out of a chair, being able to walk around. So one of the things that you need to do is lift something heavy, some kind of strength. Can be body, can be on the front of a chair. The biggest thing now is chair yoga, right? So you can do all of that, but you need to be doing something that keeps your strength up, because that's one of the, I don't know if you know what sarcopenia is, but that's, as you get older, that's loss of muscle mass. And once you lose your muscle mass, you can't get around, right? And that's the biggest thing. I taught a course at Strangway, and it was basically how to get down on the floor and get back up. And a lot of people who took that course couldn't get off the floor. So very important. Swimming is an all-around thing. If you like to, I hate water, so that's not my gig. But if you like swimming, do it, because that's an all-around exercise. It does everything. And sleep is one of the most important things that you can do. Sleep. I have a sleep apnea machine. I take CBD oil with THC in it, or I can't get through the night. I'm recovering. I'm recovering from stress, and we're going to talk about that very, very quickly. Mental health, meditation, what you think is what you get. Cancer is luck of the draw or not. I'm going to suggest this next book, my first book recommendation, is Dying to Be Me. Anita Morjani is her name. She lived in Singapore, and she went through a near-death experience. And it's one of the few books that I've read 3 times. You should read it. It's very, very, I'm going to have a list of books at the end here, but that's one of the first books that I suggest reading, because she talks about stress, and stress is very, very detrimental to your life. And again, stress from every day, but stress can go further than that. You have a genome, and your ancestors had stress and trauma, and you have that trauma and stress in your body. And if you don't address it, you become sick. That's what makes you sick. You have to get rid of that stress. You have to address the trauma. You have to make sure that your body and mind are working together. So take the time. I just took a course in transcendental meditation. It cost me $1,500, and I've been doing it now for 3 months. I feel the difference. I really feel the difference. And in the morning, the afternoon meditation, you do it twice a day. The afternoon meditation is to get rid of the stress during the day. The morning meditation I find so difficult. Why? Because that's when you're addressing, you get up, rested, you slept all night, right? You get up and you meditate, you're getting rid of that stress that's years and years behind. That's why the morning meditation is so difficult. So you need to address stress. If you have stress in your life or you have a trauma that's happened, address it. If it's with a loved one, talk about it. If it's not, find ways to bring it to the surface and address it. A couple other things down there. Unresolved trauma, you need to resolve it in genome. It stays in the genome for generations. And also, forgive and forget. You have to forgive and forget. The person who doesn't forgive and forget is the loser. And the person that you're not forgiving, they don't even know about it. Come on, they don't even know about it. You're the one that has to go, hey, I'm not going down this road. Leave it alone. And you have to have a purpose in life. You have to have a real purpose in life. What am I doing? Even at 79, what am I going to do, right? You have to have a purpose. So whether it's LKCC, whether it's Unitarian, whether it's your relatives, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, you need a purpose. So people who don't have that purpose, they're the ones who wither away. And the last thing, we talked about this, Alan yesterday got up and because one of my statements was we were trying to get new members to come to Kiwanis. Service and volunteering helps you live longer. When you help others, that's a benefit to you. So forgive and forget, because they're not going to know about it, but when you're helping somebody else, that helps you. All right, there's my book suggestions. Dying to Be Me, Anita Moorjani. The latest one that I'm looking at is Quantum Body by Deepak Chopra. And the point is that he is the one who talks about dying as a mistake and about everything in your genome and how to address it. I'm thoroughly impressed with it. I'm 90% of the way through it, and I'm going to listen to it a second time right away because I've got it from the library. So most of these you can get from the library. Is there a book sitting over there? I think I maybe put it in the office. Doesn't matter. It's called The Longevity Paradox by Stephen R. Grundy. Now, he is a Chuck for you. He's a vegetarian guy, Stephen Grundy. But in his book, which explains how to die young at a ripe old age, he has now taken some of that and put in organic meats to make sure that it goes the full spectrum of life into older age, because you do need that extra protein. So it's a good book. And in there, he actually has meal plans if you want. I don't like doing meal plans. It's boring to me. I'd like everybody to come to their own realization once you do that 2-week thing about what you do eat, and you look at it and go, I only eat 3 foods: eggs, bread, and butter. That's it. Well, you need to eat more than that. So vary that amount. Supermind is where I learned about transcendental meditation, Norman Rosenthal, MD, and it's a great book. It teaches you about your mind and about that background bothering you so much. So it's a real good read too. Obviously, I said intermittent fasting, and all of his books are very good. He has one called The Obesity Code, also intermittent fasting, and he even gets down to how to do it for your age and everything else. At the other bottom one's there. So, thank you for listening. Sorry I've taken so long. And any more questions? No? Good. Yeah. Sure. Yep. Sure.